Tonight, I'd like Sue and Tim to welcome some of our art teachers in both Mount Anthony High School and Middle School. And there's some fabulous artwork around the room. And Sue, would you like to start?
Yes, I'm going to pass around an artistic bookmark. The one I did wasn't very artistic. And as you know, there's all different things that keep students interested in school. And we offer a variety of things. One of the things we offer is a very strong art program with a lot of different things that kids can do that keep them connected with school. And you'll see from looking around, and from listening to the teachers all this offer. So I hear from the high school is Annie McNeese, who's an art teacher, and Barb Ackerman, who's a graphics arts teacher. And from the middle school, Tim, is
Karen Biglis and Leah Mahoney.
Annie, would you like to start? Sure. Because she likes to get it done with.
Yeah.
Right, Annie?
Yeah. Thank you. Hi, I'm Annie McNeese. I'm one of 3 art teachers at the high school. Jill Van Orden and Liz Howe are the other art teachers there. I'm just going to give you sort of an overview of some of the courses that we offer and the extra projects that we do with the community, just to give you a little bit of information. The high school art department offers a competitive program that's exciting and academically rigorous. Our students complete our program with an excellent foundation in the arts that they can then apply to any visual art experience that they may go on and have, but they also can use a lot of the skills that they get in our department in other courses that they may take in the high school. Every year when I take advanced students to Portfolio Review Day, they have their work reviewed by college representatives. It's like an interview with your artwork. And the reaction that they receive is always very positive. The work is praised as being very competitive, and it's an exciting day because our students are always accepted right then on the spot to at least one of their top choice schools, and frequently are also offered scholarships at that time as well. So it's a very exciting day, but what it tells us is that we're doing things right, and our students are creating work that is competitive with other schools in the areas. Our students go on to study at some of the top schools in the surrounding areas, schools like Mecca in Maine, Mass College of Art and School of Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, RISD in Rhode Island, and New Hampshire Institute of Art. And when they come back and tell us about their experiences, they always tell us that they felt incredibly well prepared, and that they, in comparing themselves with other freshmen in coming at the same level, they felt like maybe they were even better prepared than some of their classmates, their new classmates. So again, that tells us we're doing the right thing. Because students at the high school are required to have an art credit, we try to offer a wide range of courses so that there's lots of choices for them, because kids like different things. So we offer drawing and painting classes in Art 1, 2, 3, and 4. That large still life there is an art student who I think has been in my room. She's a senior now. She's been in my room every semester for every year that she's been in the high school in some level. So we just really don't know what to call her class anymore. We keep making up new titles, but she keeps coming back, and hopefully she'll continue on. She's certainly good enough. So Art 1, 2, 3, and 4 are drawing and painting mostly. Students get a strong foundation in creating expressive compositions, drawing, painting, printmaking, and some small sculpture pieces, color theory, sort of the basics, and then building on those basics to create some of the kinds of pieces that you're seeing around you today. We've worked with the middle school on a lot of our in-services so that our curriculum and our language and vocabulary is common, so that when the students come from here up to the high school, it's sort of a smooth transition for them, so that we're speaking the same language and they're building on the same set of skills and improving them from there. We have a strong ceramics department, ceramics 1 through 3 courses. Students learn to work on the wheel, they do hand building projects, they learn about glazing techniques, and they learn about firing a kiln. They also learn a lot about maintaining a studio and working in that kind of space and being responsible for that kind of space. We have a photography course where students do traditional black and white photography in the darkroom, and then they can also take those images and work with them and manipulate them on the computer with programs that we have there. So it does sort of both sides of the photography aspect. Calligraphy is another course that we offer, and some people are always surprised when we say we offer calligraphy 1, 2, and 3, and we have a huge number of kids sign up for it. And while it's a course that has its history sort of in ancient Celtic manuscripts, it's still very pertinent and relevant for any of you. I don't know if you're interested in Etsy or Pinterest, if you look at any of those things, but you'll see a lot of examples of creative, beautiful lettering. Chalkboard signage is making this big thing now. You'll see it in cafes, or if you look at beautiful handmade wedding invitations or certificates, people are really starting to remember that having things that are handmade just for you is a really wonderful thing to be able to do. And that's part of what calligraphy offers. This year, the high school offered a new course in printmaking that Jill Van Orden is teaching. She's teaching them screen printing, block printing, colograph, monoprinting, among a few of the things. And we're also planning on a new ceramics course, sculpture course, which will be less wheel work and more sculptural pieces that are less about being functional, like a cup, a plate, or whatever, and more about being a static sort of piece of art. We're lucky to have opportunities for our students to work on cross-curricular projects. We have a lot of time where we can connect with other teachers, and that's a great opportunity that we have. Liz Howe did a project with one of the English teachers on Southwest archaeology, where the students did a bunch of research, and then they came into the ceramics room, and then they made coil pots in the technique that would have been used at the time that they were studying. Jill did a project with one of the French teachers on French Impressionism, and the students did some research on that, and then they went outside and they did some really beautiful little Impressionist landscapes in plein air, which means they were painting right outside from what they were seeing, they were beautiful. Let's see, each year the art department participates in a couple of shows that we always do. One of them is coming up at the end of this month and for next month at the Bennington Museum. And then the other one is at the hospital in April. We have the art show that we participate in at the Corridor Gallery. And between those two shows, we represent artwork from probably 70 to 80 students, which is pretty decent. And what I love about the hospital show in particular is that when the students go for the opening, I don't know if any of you ever gone up there, but they see their art teachers from kindergarten and first grade, third grade, whatever, they see their art teachers. And when we're hanging the work, the art teachers are always looking over our shoulder and saying, "Oh, I remember that kid." And it's just such a lovely connection where they get to see it right from, kindergarten up through, and how amazing these kids are. We also have had work in the past at the Starco's Gallery right in Bennington. We've had work in some of the storefronts in town, both for sale and just for show. When work is for sale, that money goes into our scholarship fund, and we offer scholarships to students each year who are continuing on to study art. We did a project with painting the windows downtown, painting sort of typical Vermont scenes, the covered bridges and sugaring times, and did sort of glass murals. Then we've done Moose Fest twice, and 2 of the big moose and 1 little moose that Sue is coveting. It's in her office just now. And we did the Catamount School project. In addition to these shows, our advanced students attend the portfolio day that I mentioned at Sage College in Albany. Sometimes they go on and they go to other portfolio days too, depending on what schools come to which ones. We also have a lot of museums that we can really benefit from. The Clark Art Institute, of course, and Williams College has a wonderful gallery. I took a group of students to the Brattleboro Museum a couple months ago and saw a great show there. We have visiting artists come in. We had a professional calligrapher come in December and do a workshop with my calligraphy classes, just doing some experimental techniques that now that they're working on their finals, I'm really seeing them incorporate some of the ideas that they got from this professional person who does this for a living, you know, and it's just a great opportunity for them to see that this is something they could do that way. It's not just, doesn't have to just be a hobby. And we had another professional artist come in and do a mural project with some of our students, and the topic of it was on bullying. So it was a little more cerebral and a little more in your face, but it's you know, it's certainly a topic that our students are dealing with. So that was a great project. Bennington Potters is a wonderful opportunity. I mean, how many people can just walk with a group of kids, you know, to a place like Bennington Potters and see, you know, this business that's doing what these kids are just learning about, and here's this business happening here, and it's 5 minutes away. It's just terrific. One of the things that makes our art department so strong, I think, is that all 3 teachers are practicing professional artists. We have shows that we, you know, apply to get our work in and have them, you know, presented that way. We take courses, we take workshops, and this keeps us in touch and it keeps us inspired. And our students benefit from our combined professional knowledge. And I think that one of the things that makes us a lot of fun to work with in a way is that they know that they can go to any one of us, whoever has the answer to the question that they have. And they're very comfortable asking any of us for that information. And if I don't know something, it's like, yeah, go ask Liz that question because, you know, if it's a 3-dimensional thing, that's not my thing. So it's wonderful that we have that as a possibility within our space. The other aspect of our project, or our program, sorry, is that it's our classes are heterogeneous. They're open to everybody, and all students have access. And this provides opportunities. You know, we're a big school. When I first came to Mount Anthony, I came from Cambridge. You know, Cambridge is tiny, and when I came to Mount Anthony, I was surprised at the size of it. And just like the number of students, the sheer volume of students. And some of these kids, they don't meet one another. And when they come into the art room, it's not only that it's grades 9 through 12 that are mixed, but also different sort of, you know, groups of kids, because there are different groups of kids. So there are opportunities for them to not just meet, but work together in a space that values multiple opinions on things, multiple ideas and approaches and ways of solving problems. And that's what the art department does. And it brings together these kids, and I've seen some really wonderful friendships form over a semester or a year between kids who maybe never met before. They may be in the same grade, but they may not. Sometimes nice mentoring relationships are created with older students and younger students. It's just it's a different kind of space. And that's sort of the last thing. Sue kind of said this in the beginning, but the art space is different, and it's a different kind of place for children to come and feel safe and feel accepted and feel excited and feel like they want to try something new. And for some of them, it's what gets them to school. You know, for some of them, it's that space. I know that it was for me. And it's exciting for us, too. And, you know, for some of them, it's the best part of their day. And I know for us, it's certainly the best part of our day. So thank you very much for your kind attention. And if you have questions, please feel free.
So I just want to comment that what Al, the Cat TV camera fellow, has been doing, I believe, is he's been, for those who are watching on Cat TV, the artwork that you're seeing around the room is, I wouldn't know what grade, but they're from all the different art classes, 7 through 12, right?
Yep, they're all labeled, but yeah, they are.
6 through 12.
And I just wanted to respond before I talk about my program to,
You gotta get up there, they can't hear you, and say who you are.
My name is Barbara Ackerman. I teach graphic technology. In a minute, I'll tell you about my program. But listening to Annie's description of the art program at the high school just made me so proud to be part of that. And what I can add to that is all of my design students are constantly being recommended to work with Annie, to be part of that art department and get a broad scope of art from different perspectives, and that will complement their design work. Yeah. So I'll continue
You're up
then.
there?
We have a question for Ann.
Oh, sorry.
Dean?
Can I bring you back up to the microphone?
Yes, sorry.
Are we able to accommodate with the staff we have and the classrooms we have, every student who wants to take an art class?
Yes.
Facility.
Yep. Yep.
And you mentioned, and I didn't realize this, that there's a requirement to take an art
Yeah.
class?
Yep.
Everybody has to take
They
it's a
have to-
graduation requirement.
One art credit.
Is it studio art?
It can be any one of those. Yeah.
So,
But there's other things which Sue could elaborate on. They don't have to be they just have to be an art credit. It could be a music credit. It doesn't have to be.
music falls in the same
Mhm.
category.
In the arts.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Again, Barbara Ackerman, I teach graphic design at the high school. And I believe the most important, thing I teach to students is creative problem solving. I ask students regularly to provide me with multiple solutions to a problem. And what I tell them is, design is the best solution to a problem within the limitations of the problem. And the only way to come up with the best is to have more than one. I teach students industry standard software, skill sets in the Adobe Creative Suite, but I also teach them universal skill sets so that when they're faced with unfamiliar software, they can solve problems. I provide opportunities to apply these problem-solving skills to real-world applications. We work regularly with community institutions. You're probably all familiar with the Bennington Festival of Trees celebration that happens every fall. And for about 9 years, my students have created all of the design material for them, starting with the concept and then ultimately creating the work, the piece that hangs 6 foot by 18 foot on the side of the Bennington Museum. This year, we've been invited to do work for a spring exhibit called 3 Vermont Impressionists. We've met with the director of the museum. Students all introduced their version to the curator, and we're in the middle of now finalizing that. So another beautiful exhibit will be out in the community from the design department at the high school. We've also worked with Southern Vermont College. For the last 4 years, we've created graphics for the Bennington Free Library. At Mayfest, they sell one-of-a-kind Bennington Potter mugs with a graphic that represents the Bennington Free Library on it, and those designs come from the design class at the high school. We're also continually asked to design logos, and those we've done for many community organizations. Right off the bat, I can think of the Sophomore Career Summit and the Bennington Community Workforce, but we're constantly doing design and logos for organizations in the community. We also collaborate with peers, and we do a lot of interdisciplinary projects. All of the drama club and theater arts posters come out of the design class. We regularly work with the manufacturing technology class in the Career Development Center with Bruce Gabris. Bruce's students create products, and then we create logos and packaging to support the products. And it's of great benefit to Bruce's students when they're going through that assessment process to have this material to support their products. We also did 2 pretty amazing interdisciplinary projects, and one is ongoing. The first one I want to talk about is a video project we did a few years ago called Bennington is History. And we had 2 architects in town jump in on the project. We worked with the AP US History class and several AP English classes. Students picked a historic site in town and started researching the building. They were asked to then collect still shots. They collected oral histories from residents and video material, and we compiled that to create one video that's now actually archived at the Bennington Museum. The other interesting project that's ongoing, students actually have created audio guides for artifacts at the museum. The curator, actually the director, has been several times to introduce artifacts to the students in Rick Caswell's AP World History class. So students have an opportunity then to pick an artifact that they want to research, and they find information that has global significance and then also local significance, create the audio guide, and then it's recorded up at WBTN. So if you go to the museum and see a number next to the artifact, the number is for you to dial on your cell phone to get the recording. If you see an MAU next to it, that means what you're listening to was actually actually created by a Mount Anthony student. I give regularly students opportunities to visit state-of-the-art educational facilities. Every fall, we go up to Burlington and visit Champlain College, which has a state-of-the-art design studio. And then typically we go to JDK, which is a design agency doing very hip work for, I'm trying to think of some of the companies, Burton, Xbox. So students, and they've been doing snowboards for Burton since the very beginning. So students have a chance to see a college that has state-of-the-art classwork, and then go to a place where they can apply those skill sets that they learn. All of the students leave with an electronic portfolio from my class, all of the advanced students. They can use that then for higher education facilities. Typically, they don't always need it to get into the college, but definitely it's helpful getting into design programs. And then it's also very helpful for scholarship opportunities. And of course, for anyone that's going right into the workforce, an electronic portfolio will show a potential employer both their skill sets and their creativeness. Former students from Mount Anthony have attended the Parsons School of Design, Champlain College, the Rochester Institute of Technology, RPI, the Maine College of Art, and Penn Tech. And former Mount Anthony students have or are working for right now Facebook, Burton, Ogilvy Mather, Hollister, and Orvis.
Pretty impressive.
Thank you. Any questions,
Any
anyone?
questions, Barb?
Oh, I gave myself a couple of notes here. I just wanted a couple of things to remember to tell you. We now have 2 interns at the Clark Art Institute, which I'm very excited about. I also wanted to mention that I have a Mac lab, and I have had that from the onset. The Mac is still the preferred platform for design, but I let my students know and parents know immediately that all of the software that I teach is available on both platforms. So if students have PCs at home and have software available to them at home, those skill sets will apply for both platforms, plus then they'll know the Mac platform as well. I think that's it.
Leon?
I noticed that you do a lot of interfacing with the private industry with students along that line in terms of design and art and so forth and different projects. My question is to deal with is whether someone has made a code for the job that was too big for the department, and what guidelines are being used to be able to determine or turn away somebody that comes in and says, I got something I want to work on. I think your group is the group to work on it. And so I was trying to find out what process we have in place to nicely, systematically go about turning down of a particular private industry or project that's that's been brought before the department?
Good question. I make that decision. I have a curriculum that I need to follow, and that's the priority. I certainly look for opportunities for students to be able to apply those skill sets in real-world opportunities, but we have to fit within a specific time frame, and typically it's for nonprofits. So I'd be very cautious about doing design work without a fee for a nonprofit organization, or for a profit organization, I should say. Yeah, so size and time really determine whether we can handle it, I would say. Are you thinking, you have something in mind?
Well, I happen to be asking in terms of the Vermont Department of Education is strongly endorsing the fact that they want students to be involved in the private sector.
Oh.
Doing task forces and so forth along that line. The problem that comes about is the guidelines and consideration that are in place, that need to be in place to be systematic about it. And one doesn't really exist right now. And they plan on working on one starting this month.
Well,
As a model for all of the schools in the state of Vermont. So I was just wondering what guidelines that you use. One size is too much, the time, how well they fit in the curriculum. And so all those are some of the things that are out there, but they're not documented in a guideline that says this is what needs to happen, and that's coming. So I want
right, okay. Yeah, and the other thing I think that's really important is that it's really important for the designer, and it could be a student, it could be me, to make sure that a potential client understands the value of what they're getting. So that's an important piece of actually working with the client.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Karen and Leah are going to talk about the middle school program.
Great. Together. Together? No?
Well, I just wanted to get up and introduce, we invited a student, a 7th grader, Iris Patterson, to come talk a little bit about maybe her favorite project that she did in 7th grade art this year. So, thank you, Iris.
Well, probably my favorite part about having art class here was making my own mug, because you got to be really creative and you could relax just in art class and just do whatever you wanted on your mug. So it's your own and you get to keep it, and whenever you drink out of it, you can remember. Mine represents me because I put all the sports I play on it and the Olympic rings.
So we have ceramics at the middle school. And does every student partake in the ceramics?
Yes, we do ceramics in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. 8th grade has more flexibility with choice. Leah and I have sort of allowed some students in 8th grade the opportunity to pursue, if they have a stronger interest in drawing and painting, we allow them to pursue that. And if they have a stronger interest in ceramics and three-dimensional work, we allow them to pursue that. And we really work collaboratively in 8th grade.
Okay. So the other things we offer here are drawing, which we do in every grade. Painting. In 6th grade, we'll start with some watercolor. 7th grade, we primarily stick with pastels and learning how to blend colors. 8th grade, they can take that and go off into acrylic painting. So they learned all the fundamentals before they get there. We have wood burning, various 3D projects. As Annie mentioned, our program feeds into the high school program, so we try to prepare them for high school. If you see, we do some still life drawing, and then they're going to do still life drawing. So hopefully ours will build up to their program. Same thing with clay. It will build up to what they're doing in the high school. We also do a lot of community service projects. We did the Catamount project, the Moose Fest, Green Day and Peace Poster contest, empty bowls, ornaments for hospice, pottery for pups, and we're currently working on collaborating with Fiddlehead in town to do an art show there. So we'll get the middle school work out a little more as the high school teachers are doing. Here, we encourage independent and creative thinking so they can begin to do more work on their own in our class as well as other classes. So we really enforce problem solving and analytical thinking skills, which can be carried across everything that they do. So we try to have kids make a personal connection to their artwork and have a good art experience, so it instills a passion for art through their whole life. So that's what we're trying to do here. Anything else, Karen?
Yeah, probably just that we, in 6th grade, definitely start with the fundamentals. If you could see some of the works on the board there, you know, they've got one piece. So we start with real basic drawing, and then we slowly work them up into more intricate drawings and more intricate works. And I guess I would really stress that here in the middle school, my main goal, and our main goal is really to get the kids excited and just have fun and enjoy their time and really become passionate about what they're doing. I mean, seeing Iris work in class, I mean, it was great. She'd come in, you know, they just get their stuff out and they just get going, and it's just so exciting for us as educators to see our kids that excited. And then, as Annie said, to see their work. Annie was setting up work today, and I said, "Ooh, whose is that?" And you really want to see what your students are doing. And I think that they're doing some amazing things in our classes, so.
Thank you, it's very exciting. Now, Iris, are you signed up for classes at the high school yet?
Iris is a 7th grader.
Oh, I see.
Sorry.
So you have lots of things to look forward to at the high school.
Yes.
Right? Tim?
Do you have woodworking classes still at the middle school?
We don't, no. We offer wood burning
Yeah.
for our students, but not
That wasn't quite what I was
woodworking.
thinking about.
They may be touching on some of that in sustainability, Mr.
Yeah.
Payne, yeah?
And I can talk a little bit about that. I would just add for the board, this is my 2nd year in the middle school. The art space and the music spaces are really quite amazing, purpose-built. Having served in buildings where programs are added later and kind of stuffed into existing rooms and spaces. Or on a cart, absolutely, art on a cart, we've all heard that. It's really amazing. The art space that Leah and Karen occupy, actually it's 2 classrooms in an L shape. They share a kiln, storage space. It's really quite an amazing, well lit, and it allows for them to easily travel back and forth. And they do a lot of work together, obviously planning and things like that. So both the music and the art benefit from this beautiful building and some thoughtful design that went into it, and I think students benefit from that tremendously. We do not have a tech ed class at this point. We have sustainability, which still utilizes the 2 spaces that were used for that program. And one of the discussions we're having going forward is finding programs that would allow staff to be trained to use the machines that exist in there for obvious liability and safety reasons. But we have 2 excellent tech ed rooms still available to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you really so much for coming. I know you have to be at school early, and Iris, really. Good luck on your next mug. Do you get to do more than one?
No, I just did one.
Do they get to do one, Karen? Oh, maybe if she wants to next year.
She'll get to do whatever she wants.
Well, thank you again for coming. We really appreciate hearing what's going on, and as many board members. Oh, want me to speak up? As you all know, the arts are not just what you've just heard here, but we do have many offerings through the theater, and we have music, and so there's many other opportunities for, excuse me? Right. Sorry, I won't, am I okay here? He's not hearing me. Okay. So the next thing on our agenda, we're going to move into public comment. I don't see anybody here but our newspaper reporter. So I'm going to move on to finance. And can we accept the treasurer's report that was in the packet, please?
So moved. Second.
All in favor of accepting the treasurer's report? Do you have a question, please? Yeah. The budget status report is not here this evening, but we do have the backup material.
Right.
Oh, no, we don't have
It's-
backup for the warrant.
We don't know.
So we're going to move to Tim for the financial updates on both the budget and other things, if you have them.
Sure. First, to take care of some housekeeping aspects. The board always approves the allocation formula for the charges that the CDC pays for services rendered by MAU. And basically, we talked about it in the Finance Committee, and the general formula has been used for a number of years. It's based on two large categories. We just call them Formula A and Formula B. Formula A is a ratio of the number of students at MAU compared to the number of students at the CDC, and the Formula B is the square footage, the amount of square footage as compared with MAU. And the charges for the services that we offer are based on those percentages. So we've been fortunate to been able to work this through over a good number of years, and it seems to be working, and I've been informed that the CDC has approved that formula for the coming year.
I don't know, well, I told them it's going to, may change next year, but it's been the same since 2008.
Right, we've had a few changes, but it's basically the same idea, right?
Yeah.
But, so we just need
Yes.
a motion to approve the allocation formula so that those figures can be incorporated into the
Were those in
budgets.
the packet? The-
I don't know, no, I don't think so.
So,
But the Finance Committee did have them available to them, and they did approve it.
I just want to say that I got an email from Jim Bootcamp after your finance meeting saying that the numbers, they had sent the numbers, but they hadn't gotten to your committee
Right.
before the meeting. So
Right.
these, the numbers.
That's a different set of numbers.
So if we could make a note to post these papers
Yep,
in either in this current packet online or ahead to next meeting as well.
sure.
Does anybody have any questions on this? Because I know you don't have it in front of you.
Many of the people that are here were at that meeting, so it isn't as if it's,
Okay, so you'd like a motion to accept
Yes.
the allocation agreement?
right.
So move.
Any questions? All in favor? It's unanimous, thank you.
And then we posted with the packet.
Yes, and I see Don making a note.
The next thing is that we've had a series of meetings concerning the budget. The Finance Committee at this point is not ready to recommend a budget, although we feel strongly, I think I'm speaking for the committee, if anybody here would like to chime in, do so, that the figures that we have been presented with are, we feel, certainly within reason, and we hope to be able to approve it. Because we only had the final figures and the allocation of the funds in the different departments was made available to us, we didn't have time really to go over them. We also had a few areas that we did not have so that we couldn't complete the budget. We have a meeting scheduled for next Monday, a week from this past Monday, I think it's the 20th. And we will hopefully approve the budget at that time, but then we need to have the full board approve it. So we will have to have an emergency meeting because we have to have that done before, I think it's the 29th or the 28th. Do you know, Donna? is the 29th, before that
I
date.
think you already scheduled it, right?
Yep, it was scheduled.
I have here that you want an MAU warning on the 27th, is that correct?
That is correct. If that doesn't work for anybody, we could have it anytime after the 20th.
Okay, I think that we're gonna try and do a couple of meetings back to back for all the boards that might need to approve.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, but fine.
You're doing it on the 29th? I didn't make this number up, somebody gave it to me, huh?
Well, that's the figure that we had put down as the last possible date that we had.
27th, so are most people available for a warning on the 27th? So it'll probably be at central office.
Yes, the central office, it shouldn't take any time at all. We just need a majority there.
But you're gonna wanna go over the budget because you're not going over it now.
We certainly can do that. I would encourage people that are interested in the budget to show up at the meeting on the 20th at 5 o'clock at central office. We'll have more.
It is a holiday.
We know that.
They were reminded.
Yeah.
Right, well, some of us are out of town on that day, so. But that's okay, I just think.
That is a better time because we'll have more time to go over that. We'll have the personnel there to be able to answer the questions.
So, as long as most of, or all the information that's reviewed is posted, people should be able to access it.
Yes.
Leon?
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. I saw some information, and I just thought that I hadn't been able to attend in the meeting, but I saw two pieces of information that went about, one from the middle school and one from the high school, in terms of some things concerning the budget. And the things that I saw in terms of middle school, in terms of breakdown based on Zealand's, the average number of teachers, and then the number of students in there, is what I was sort of looking for, the trail along behind the SBSU budget, to be able to see where the funds are in terms of the number of people's involved in using of those funds, as well as the goals, the challenges that needed to happen in those departments to justify that money that's coming up from each one of those departments. It's in whether you got enough. Somebody asked a question tonight, are they getting what they need? Can they handle all the students that they need to be handling or managing? We don't know that.
Well, that isn't right. That isn't right.
I don't know that. When I look at a budget, I see the numbers, but the numbers that says that they should be doing them based on the fact that you've got average class sizes and where they want to go or need to go, or mix max and min, and whether we need to be pumping more money into that along that line. And so these are the good and the bad types of scenarios that come out financially wise, besides just saying it's a dollar figure.
Yeah,
that we cut down.
we have been going over those things. We have class lists, we have the number of students in classes, we have the number of teachers. There's a difference between the middle school and the high school in terms of class size because of the team system and the way things work. We have been going over all of those things. It takes a good deal of time, and the best people to describe that really are those that are most directly involved with that, and that is the administration and the teachers they happen to bring along. But when a new course or new money is added for, we make an effort to be sure that we understand where that money is going and how it's going to be used.
So I have those documentations that you've been going over. I'm just saying, I got some, I didn't see any more. That's what's happening.
We'll get a number of things posted. I'm not sure, Rick hasn't been in, but we can, we just want to be sure that when we post something, that it really reflects where we are in the process of establishing a budget. And we can do that. Unfortunately, Rick has been out for the last few days, so as soon as he gets back and we make a few changes, we will get those figures to you.
Now, this is working information now.
Right,
That's what I mean, not posting information for the general public. This is the stuff that the board members are looking at to be able to understand where the budget is going and where the educational problems or successes are, so that we can say you need to put more this way or that way and not just go on the number that we got. We may be able to say something different, I know, along that line. That's all I'm saying.
So I just want to reiterate that usually the committee structure is that the committee meets and reports out to the board. And I think what Leon might be saying is that there's not really a report on what has happened except that you've been meeting. And so the public who's watching may not be aware that our class sizes are at a certain level, and that I know that we were handed those out, but I was not at the last meeting on whatever this past Monday was. So the idea would be that telling the board what may be cut, what may not be cut, what may be added, that's just an overview of what's going
We could
on. So hopefully many people can make it to the 20th.
Right, the 20th would be the best time to do that, because we'll have things.
And then on the 27th, I really would expect that it, I mean, we may not have the public, but it would at least, be answerable to the public on what is in there. So are there any questions?
Anybody?
So the 20th at 5, I have 5 o'clock.
That's right, that is correct.
And that's the central office?
Central office, right.
Okay.
Would anybody that has been at those meetings, a lot of the people here have been, like to add anything to that?
I guess I would just say, to answer your question or concern, and correct me if I'm mischaracterizing it, but there haven't been any position cuts that would lead to building principals told us in budget for, so no significant cuts in staffing, at least.
That's right. And those classes, we plan to offer, or the administration plans to offer the classes that have been offered this year, a continuation of those classes. We do have 1 or 2 new additions, one in the middle school, and we may be doing some changing of ways certain areas are covered at the high school, but those were covered in the meeting.
So one of the things that came up was the, whether or not we were going to replace a German teacher who was leaving.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Right,
But we're not sure yet. We're not sure what's going to
So those are
happen.
things that-
We have money in the budget to be able to cover that if we decide that we will have a German teacher, but we may want to approach it in a different way.
And I've got a new plan since this past Monday that I'll tell you about Monday.
Okay.
That will actually save some money.
Well, there's 2 sides to that. Is, I think that, the board and the committee is going to hear the value of having German available to the students who've taken it and how we can best continue that. And then there may be the other side of the discussion is why we offer German. And I'm not saying, I actually would prefer that we let those students continue in taking German.
Yeah, I've got the plan all set. I'll explain it.
That's why we really needed another week to be able to put some of those things together, because those are some of the questions that we couldn't answer definitively at our last meeting. And there still will be other questions that come up.
So I guess I'll ask one last question on the budget process, and that is one of the things that was discussed at SU and early on at MAU is how the assessment, what kind of services the MAU middle and high school will need in terms of special ed to plug into the SDSU budget. And that was what was left as a placeholder in the SDSU budget. So will that be known on Monday the 20th?
That will be. As I understand it, the SVSU is meeting on the 20, is it 22nd then?
No, it's 22nd.
Isn't there a meeting before that, I thought?
Oh,
When was-
finance, but the full board is meeting on the 20th.
Right, but the finance is meeting on Tuesday, right. So we will, okay.
So we're moving along.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I just wanted to get the last piece in. The reason I was asking it that way is because we said that there was no staff cut anywhere and are no staff requested to be added. When I look at education in these 2 institutions in terms of them being one, the high school and the middle school, then the problems associated with it, the successes and the things that we need to be working on, that's what we need to be talking about and challenging each department. There may need to be some added. I saw a whole bunch of resignations and things coming along for the math department and so forth. So all I'm asking is that we break these things out and look at it and explore the challenges in each area and fix or just the problems and have the finances go with it. You know, that's all I'm saying.
I agree with you, Leon, but that's what I feel like we do
Yeah.
all the time. That's our job, to make sure this is working correctly. So, but we can tell you what we came up with, like, for instance, the foreign language. I've got a whole plan I can present on one day of how it's going to happen, that those kids are going to be able to finish, and what we'll do from this point on.
Yeah, but we want to see I want to see all of the departments, not just one, all of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you want to see
The
out of
same
all the
thing that you're talking
departments.
about for that one, in terms of foreign language as a department, you know, teachers, you know, whatever you got. And I looked at them in the budget status report and so forth along that line. But then what you don't have in there is the educational piece that you just talked about right here. How does that fit into that realm, and whether you're getting what you need to
I don't necessarily understand your question. It is the administration's responsibility
to show us.
Well, we trust them to be able to organize a math department or an English department or whatever department it happens to be, as long as we give them the tools to be able to do that in terms of financing. And that's what they have done. Now, exactly how they're going to divide that up, in many cases, will depend upon the staff that they're dealing with at the beginning of next year. But they feel confident. They need to have the assurance that those dollars are there to be able to hire what they feel is the appropriate number to cover the classes that they're going to offer.
I agree, and that's exactly what we're saying, that they need to tell us the plan and to help Sue out and Tim out. The department can actually do their own and say, these are the things that needs to happen here, and these are the dollars that I need, and these are the problems and downfalls that I got, and we can make sure that they get the money. I don't want to keep listening to the things that we had in terms of the different parts in the community and other places out here saying that we are lacking in our progress and so forth along this line. If we haven't, this is the time to address it finance-wise and structure-wise, I think. That's what I think.
So I think that ties back to perhaps a needed education committee meeting, which has a lot to do with what would be the school action plans are, and where the emphasis is within the school action plans, which usually come out at budget time, but they're actually not going to this year, so we'll get into that a little bit later. But I think what Leon, you're asking is that, you know, each school has an action plan on how they're going to improve certain areas within core curriculum. And those are all they're all available, and the principals submit them each year, and they've been working on them. I mean, each teacher is working diligently and trying to make some progress in terms of academic achievement. So I think that you just want more detail, and your schedule doesn't really line up with perhaps the finance committee. So we'll make sure the public and the board are aware of what they're going to be voting on. How's that?
Thank you.
So, I'm actually going to piggyback on financial updates. It's not really a financial update in actual numbers. It is in the annual report that is typically distributed from MAU. Every school district has one. This year, there has been a lot of discussion at the administrative level of putting MAU in each one of the elementary towns' school district reports. So it would be Shaftesbury School District Annual Report and MAU, Bennington's Annual Report and MAU. And what that would do is, in all of the SBSU individual school districts, member districts, there's the superintendent's report is the same, the finance report is usually the same, the CFO's overview. So what MAUs would be is embedded in a section in the elementary district's annual report. So Tim's letter would still be in there, Sue's letter would still be in there, and it'd be part of, in an effort to let the the citizens know that this is their kids in Shaftesbury K through 12, in Bennington K through 12. And the idea is to try and show the blended costs and tax rates. So it's an effort to have people understand both what's in the school's annual report in a simplified fashion and also being able to explain how the budgets translate into a tax rate in those specific towns. So it hasn't, the actual format hasn't been decided on. The board chairs met today to discuss how that might look and what is required by statute to be in those reports and what is not necessarily required. We've had a lot of things in this 60-page report or more that is not actually required in the annual report. So that's, and again, an effort for people to really understand better where the money's going, what it's being spent on, and not expect people to read 60 pages. If you want the 60 pages, if you want the detail as a citizen or a taxpayer, you can request what you would see like in a budget stat report. But the idea is also to simplify the budget in areas, curriculum, 6th grade, arts, administrative offices, and not have line by line of what is in there. Now, those are certainly available, and they'll be available online, but they won't be in the published report that will be available online and in print. So if you have any questions, I asked Fran to pick up some slack for me if there were any questions, and you have the graph that you're
Yes.
thinking of using?
Yep.
So,
We're still going to get this, though, aren't we?
no.
This, you're not going to have an annual
The
report?
They're
idea,
going to summarize it.
they're going to summarize it, but it will be available online. So it won't be in that book that you're holding, but the MAU book?
Yeah.
So what you'll see is that the main categories will be the bottom line. So just open the book and tell me a page.
Well, 28.
So what's on that page?
Well, we've got guidance and nurses and libraries and principals.
The bottom line would be guidance at the high school, and it would have the bottom line dollar amount. It wouldn't have all that breakout in it in the published book, but it would be available online, and somebody in the central office can print it if somebody wants it.
And what is going to be the way that you're going to present the tax situation?
Well, that's not me, that's the CFO.
Business.
The business office would like to, Fran, hold up that little graph.
Yeah, actually should pass it around, but
I might have a copy. So, Tim, you've seen this before, no?
No,
Okay.
I haven't seen this before, no.
Okay, so what
I
Fran
pass
is
it around?
holding up
Guess
is
not.
a year, like how far back does it go? Couple of years, right?
Mhm.
2 years.
yeah,
So
3.
The color bars on that graph show the state-based tax rate, then the next color shows, this happens to be BSD, shows the BSD amount within that bar, and then it'll show MAU's amount within that bar, and then that little sliver at the top will be the CDC, and that's for Bennington, and then there'll be an SBSU sliver. So if you
Yep.
look at that graph from top to bottom, you see how much of each district for that particular town, that happens to be Bennington, you were paying in that total dollar amount. That was Rick's, he wasn't there today, but this is what he presented last week. And again, it's not a final product, it's a draft, so you might want to show it to Tim.
Yeah. Here, Tim. And pass it around.
This is all in an effort to have people really understand how it works.
250,
I know, and if I can't
1, 2,
explain it,
3,
then
4,
I
5, 6, 7 years, not 3.
Good.
I was going to say with the sticks.
So
I
when we're going to
stopped.
move on
This
to
isn't right.
the consent agenda, Tim, do you have, I know you
14,
can
15.
talk about this at the meeting on Monday,
Those are graphs.
but I just wanted to give everybody a heads up that is,
Well, I don't, I'm all for we can make things clear. I know Leon's been one of the ones that's been very strong on this too. But it is extremely difficult to explain in a simplified way that the taxes are determined that we all pay on the property that we own and things. I can tell you that in terms of the Mount Anthony budget, what we're looking for at right now is a general increase of around 2.6%. But that doesn't include the amount of extra revenue that we'll be receiving. And if you take into account that extra revenue, we're just about going to be flat for the coming year. But there are situations within that, or there are circumstances within that, that will still result in a higher tax that people will have to pay. And that is because of what the state has done. The state, in their bottom line that they require on all assessed value, they've made a substantial jump from 94 cents to $1.01. And that affects you no matter what the school budget happens to be. You're going to have to pay that extra amount. So, I'm all for explaining this. It gets a little more complicated than that because it gets into the common level appraisal and other things.
And that's actually in here as well.
But we will, we constantly work on that, and for years we've had articles in the paper and everything else. But I think the bottom line is that in terms of the MAU budget for the fiscal 15 year, that we have a very, very minimal increase. And the increase that people will see in their tax rate is due to the state, not to our budget.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I think this is part of the blame game, which is that when you look at this blue line that says state, the state is basing their tax rate on what they anticipate the school budgets are going to go up around the state. So it is in correlation to what school districts are spending. So yes, the state is changing the dollar amount, but and they are raising that base rate. So it is the state's number that they're picking, but we're spending that money. We're spending the money, we're sending it up, and it's coming back. So I mean, no matter how you do it, it's complex. It's really not straightforward. And so I don't want you to think, that the blue line from the state isn't money we're spending. It is money we're spending. It's money everybody's spending.
I'm going to try to say that a little different. The bottom line is we're spending that money. The problem is the pools of money, where the money's coming from, that the state takes, is changing all the time, which means the property taxpayer pays more because they're not taking the pool of money from somewhere else. The state isn't causing us to increase our taxes, and we should be very clear of that. The bottom line is how they're getting the money. We know they're short of money. They've got to find it somewhere, and guess what? Property payers are going to pay some of that.
That's right. Every one of the towns in SBSU is a receiving town. So
That's right.
For every, 80 cents we send up, we get $1 back. And I'm making that up, but it's, we get more in return than we send up. And those are the kind of things we want to educate.
We've got income sensitivity. We've got a lot of those other things that certainly make a difference. I know Dave always brings this up, and I think he's right to. And
60, actually almost 70%.
70%.
SBSU-wide.
Right.
Yeah.
Get
But-
some kind of relief.
We'll,
I'm just going to, since you gave the opening. I think that for every 50 cents we send up, we meaning residents of Bennington, all the SBSU, we get $1 back. So the blue bar represents taxes that are going, that the state has said we have to pay. That goes up to Montpelier, not literally, but it's in books it goes to Montpelier, and we get back $1. And every incremental 50 cents that we budget, we get $1 back. I think that's worth remembering. Every 50 cents that we.
Is it 50 cents?
It's 50-50. Rick has said that number. I don't know.
Well, that's why I said I don't want to.
I don't.
I know we get more than we send up, so I just.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
So,
The other point, though, I'm just going to mention here, too, and this is not something that's been reported at all, as far as I know, but the residential tax liability of Bennington, we're talking about the town of Bennington now, was required to pay this fiscal year, FY14, the school year, was actually less than the residential tax liability in aggregate than was paid previous year. And it seemed counterintuitive because the tax rate went up. As we all know, the Bennington school budget had to take 3 passes before it was passed. At the end of the day, the total amount of tax dollars that were collected from residents, were paying the residential rate, went down. I think it was by 7%. And that's from reports that are on the state's education website. You have to point them out to anybody who wants to see them.
But the individual taxpayer was paying more.
And this
These
is
are-
why this funding system,
Individual taxpayers were not necessarily paying more,
Depending upon
depending upon
their assessed value.
depending on income sensitivity,
Right.
and depending also upon the CLA and obviously the grant list.
Right.
value of the property.
We could go on and on. Enough.
I don't want to get started.
well, I didn't want to bring it up again. So I thought I'd throw it all in there. So we
Okay.
have a consent agenda as presented. Can we have a vote?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions on the consent agenda or observations? I do want to, go ahead,
Rick isn't here, but I wanted to know, I have a couple of questions.
on the warrants?
Yes.
Okay, we have,
What is the secondary resource room? Because there's 2 items on the warrants.
I'm
Turns out
sorry,
the,
Tim's chair was moving. Can you tell me again?
on
Did you
one of
say
the vouchers.
secondary resource rooms?
Yeah, what is that?
The
Special
secondary-
education.
You could-
Okay. That's just all special ed?
A resource room is, what are you referring to, where, what page? I was going to look.
I don't have it in front of me, but it was on page 18 and 19 of both voucher 2013.
Let me see, just a second. Where it says assessments, is that what you?
Yeah, it's SBSU, and part of it is on
Right, those are, that would be special education. And to me, it's probably, and it's well, one of them's high school and one's middle school. If it's a 20, it's middle school, it's a high school, it's 30. And, I mean, I'm not sure if that's, I'm not sure, but I know it's to do with special education. I don't want to say what it is, but I'm sure Rick could answer that in no time if you emailed him and asked him that question.
One other question, that maybe you can answer, maybe not. On page 12 of that same warrant, there's an expense for microfilm. What are we still using microfilm for?
The only thing I know that we put on microfilm is the students' old files. We don't keep a paper file anymore. We put it all on microfiche. That's the only thing I can think that would be.
Sort of like in the old libraries, you know?
Yeah, I know, I'm just wondering, wouldn't it be less expensive to just simply scan that and archive it electronically?
I know there's a plan SBSU-wide to do that, at least at the SBSU level, they've asked for like a clerk type person to be able to do that, but we keep cutting that. So.
It's not very much money either on here.
No, but I've seen a similar microwave.
A microfilm, yeah. That's the only thing I know that we do put on microfiche.
Any other questions on the warrant? I'm sorry, Fran?
Page 10 on voucher 2013. It's a Highlander bicycles, about $1,600. It's check 63,707. I didn't know we had bicycles in the school, but
That's 9 of them,
9 of them.
not one of them. It says 9 of them.
Okay.
And it's part of a physical education. They offer mountain biking.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. And on page 13, the same voucher, Manchester Powerhouse, 34518. It's check number 60, 63708, I believe. I don't have my glasses, so hopefully that's right.
It's repairs,
Yeah, it
Yes,
says
and
repairs.
it's,
Manchester Powerhouse.
and it's attributed to account 30 and general fund. What is Manchester Powerhouse, Fran?
I would assume it's lawnmowers or something like that, small engine.
That's what it is. I know the place, yeah, they sell tractors
Okay.
and batteries.
I didn't know what we were doing in Manchester, repairing whatever, and we got places right around here.
Well, we can certainly ask.
Right. Don't have to know now, but,
Right, and there's supplies there from there.
okay.
Any other questions?
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question, not on the warrants, but on the budget transfer request.
Yes,
There's,
my pet peeve.
I'm not the only one. Needs to be explained better because it doesn't really explain it.
So Mount Anthony is the only district where the CFO years, I guess a number of years ago, wanted MAU when budget money was moved by principals to articulate where the money was coming from and where it was going to. And so you'll see little amounts, big amounts to balance out an account. So while it may not make sense to you if it's going into the foreign language column, it probably means they need more money over there and so forth and so on. I've asked repeatedly that we only have to approve transfers over a certain dollar amount because it seems like an awful lot of,
And we wouldn't move from one department to another. It's usually, say it's a contracted service, and it has to go into another part of the same department. We don't go from department to department. We're not allowed to.
What I was gonna ask was, how come there's a lot of expenses on here that are covering like health insurance and dental insurance? I'm wondering why aren't those budgeted to be covered in the first place?
They probably are. Those are Rick questions, and I don't know how to answer. Those are Rick questions.
You know, I don't know specifically that reason, but often when we making up the budget, we take the employees that we have right now, and we assume they're going to be carrying the same insurance. Now, if they leave and we have new people come in, and they don't take the same insurance or no insurance or whatever else, there is often a variance there, and that's the way that we do it. But in order, we're doing the budget now, but it really applies to our next fiscal year. We don't really know what each individual is covered by insurance, the program that he or she is going to take.
Or if someone goes horizontally, their movement and their pay goes up, that could happen mid-year.
the other thing is if somebody can move up in a grid after they've completed courses, so that sometimes affects budgets. Leon?
Under the retirement category, we have two listed. Is that, have we met our deadline?
Yeah.
In terms of that, this is it,
Yeah.
right, in terms of an early notification for that?
Well, we met the date where they could receive the sick day package. They can retire or leave up to the end of the year, but that was January 6th.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure that this is the one everybody was supposed to
Yes.
request before January 6th in
Yes.
order to get the rest of the stuff out
One
of
of
it.
them is a retirement, one of them is a resignation, right?
It's two.
Two retires. one
2 retirements, one is relocating.
Call it three.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor?
Yep.
All in favor of the consent agenda? It's unanimous. So we're going to move along here to the student representative. They're not over here for you to kick them, Sue. So you can make your own report.
I would never kick them.
At least that's so people can see it.
Well, coming towards the end of the semester here, so there's a couple of things going on around. The MAU Drama Club is starting their new play, the auditions, I believe, are next week, all next week, and they're doing a series of shorts, one at plays, like sort of interconnected, about love, titled Almost Mating. And then there's the class in the CDC that's putting on some more one acts that will be tomorrow, I believe. With the final exams coming around, every class, of course, does them differently. And in chorus, having each member of the chorus coming up and presenting to the rest of the chorus a song or a piece that they've written in some class. And then there have also been students who have recorded themselves singing, made a video and posted it to YouTube for the class to see. And then this week has showed them to the class, and they're staying on YouTube as a sort of a playlist that anybody can see MAU choral singers singing different songs that they like. In sports, the basketball game going on right now has the return of the Kate's Crazies, which was a big thing 2 years ago. The sort of organized cheering group for the basketball games, boys and girls. They'll all wear the same colors just to kind of boost team spirit. I think we have a blackout going on. This is the first day that the first game that we've had this kind of team spirit group thing going on in the last couple of years. So there's a big thing going on still here. I over it and certain members of the basketball team. In the student senate right now, we're not really doing anything. The student senate is kind of in between our big seasons right now, with like with the holidays and then the spring in between winter school seasons. But the student senate is planning on doing some volunteering work with either local homeless or in need of food help, like helping at a food shelter, or possibly doing another community service just to help give back to the community. And sort of along the same lines with that, the SOS, I forget what that's
Seminars.
The seminars.
Yeah.
My seminar is currently working on a project to help the Second Chance Animal Shelter. We've been knitting or crocheting little wool blankets that will be put together by our seminar leader to give to the animals who keep them warm. And I'm not sure exactly what other seminars are doing. Everyone seems to have their own idea of what seminar should be, but other groups are doing not necessarily similar activities, but other useful activities to benefit the community or help my students.
I know a seminar that was cutting coupons and giving them to people, like a similar type thing.
And how did blood drive go?
Blood drive went really well. There were fewer people than there have been in the past years. I think we didn't do as well beforehand getting other students to sign up, but there were members of the community that came in and donated, and we had a pretty good number of people, not as good as it has been in previous years, but still a pretty solid number. And it went smoothly, efficiently.
Thank you. Anything to add? Is that almost the end of the semester, we're coming up, and it's preoccupied with that. Not a whole lot else.
So was it the 22nd and the 23rd?
Next week, next Wednesday.
So I noticed in looking at, listening to our students that somehow the principal's reports are not on here, so I'm going to jump.
Can I ask?
I just have one. Go ahead.
Excuse me, sir. That blood, is that collected by the Red Cross, or is it for local?
Yes.
They come in, they bring all their equipment, they set up in the auditorium. The Interactive Student Center clubs help them set up, and then we help check people in.
And how many pints do you have any idea how many were collected? Okay, that's good.
We could find that out for you, though.
Yeah, I think it's a nice thing. And now, is that blood any way reserved for this community, or does it just go into a big pool that serves the whole state or the East Coast?
I think that's decided by the Red Cross,
I don't know.
where it's most needed.
Sue, did you want to add something to the report?
No, I have just information I want to pass out, if that's okay. You want to do it? I pass this out every year. In the last 2 meetings, something's always going on, and I want to get it out to you. I think about 3 years ago, we started tracking our students that go on to college, and 1 year later, we contact every single one of the students, which takes quite a long time in the summer, and we find out, the questions we ask are you still going to college? Are you in the same college? Or did you transfer? Or for some kids, they've taken a gap year and now they're going to college. And there's obviously no student names on here, but on here I listed all of the colleges. You can look at the top, and this is last year graduates. There were 225 graduates. 112 of them went to college. 82% of them stayed in the same college, and 14% of them transferred to a different college. So 96% of our kids that went to college are still in college a year later, which I think is tremendous. I think it's a very high number. Only 2% of those kids were no longer in college. For me, that means that we're helping students go to the colleges that make sense for them, both financially and what their capabilities are and what their interests are. I also, on the last page, or the back page, you only have 2 pages, I put a comparison from last year to this year, and 84% of the students in the previous year were still in college. So that number went up. 16% were no longer in college. This year's students, only 2% were no longer in college. So, go ahead. What? I added the 82%. It's at the top of the first page, Leon. 82% stayed in the same college, 14% transferred to a different college, 2% no longer in college.
As we were preparing for tonight's evening meeting, I added, Sue and I were talking, a lot of your high schools will tout the percentage of students graduating and going off to college, which is great because you can show that to the community and it's a really easy number to understand. But any kind of work that you're doing in college readiness really talks about 2 things, academics and how good your guidance department is. What kind of conversations they're having with kids, understanding your kids, and putting them in the right institution for what they want to do and what they want to pursue. And so Sue and I talked about this last year. This was the first time I saw it. I said, this is really amazing. I spent the last 11 years before I came to the middle school in a high school very close to this community who can proudly tell you how many kids go off to college. But we didn't do this, which is the really hard work of going a year later and following up with your alumni and saying, how was your college experience? Are you still there? It really answers the question that college readiness is did your kids go to, the kids who went to college, are they still there? Are they still pursuing the degree that they went to? So I think I was really impressed when Sue brought this out, and I just want to tout this again to the board and to the community. This is really heavy-duty work, and a lot of high schools don't do this.
I can't find high schools that do this. I have called the state to try to get that information. We have talked to different high schools the size of ours, and I cannot find another high school that has taken the time to follow up on that. It is a tremendous amount of time, but I think it's important information.
Really important.
Do we have any information on the 50% that didn't go, whether or not that was financial?
No.
Or whatever?
No. I think it's a variety of reasons. I think financial is one, but I think there's other reasons to that. I mean, some kids just aren't ready for college. I mean, they might go, but they wouldn't be successful. You know, to me, the question is, do those other students, are they being productive in what they're doing?
Yeah, I'd almost like
Whether
to see it.
whether it's in the military, whether it's in a job, are they being productive citizens is important.
Might be worth
The only-
follow up, see it
The only thing that,
interval.
Yeah, I don't know if we'd be able to find them. You don't know what it is to find them a year later. It's hard.
And you're going to talk about yourself.
Well, I was gonna say, we chose not to go out. There's software available over the country in terms of, when I went to the technology down in Houston, available, but we chose not to use that.
Right, but with the, can I just say, Leanne, with that software, you're correct, but I did a lot of research on that software, and you have to provide them all the email addresses, numbers, and all that, and what we find is, we call them, and it's no longer the right number, or it's no longer the right email. So then we go on Facebook, we really search for these students that I don't know if that, and we call friends that might know where the student is. I don't know if you'd get the same results. I think they'd use our information, and if they couldn't get it, they couldn't get it.
Well, I just wanted to say that there was software out there that's being used in other parts when you make, there was nothing happening out here. I'm just saying that software, we chose not to use that. You prefer to do it this particular way along that line, in all fairness to the people that are listening to this, and it's going to be saying something that, hey, there's no software. And I'm saying, there is software. We made a choice to do that.
Yep, there is software.
One more quick question. Do you have any idea of how many man hours are expended doing this? Yeah.
I would say, well, I have 2 people working on and off all summer with it, and then I find even the administrators are trying to call people and get, like, we really take it seriously, because if you don't have all the information, it's not really valuable. So I don't know exactly how many hours, but I know I have 2 secretaries that do the first set of all the calls, emails, trying to we do it by email first, hoping that's, but very few people get right back to you and say, hey, you know, they're 19 years old. They hear from the school, what are you doing? They don't always jump right on it and get back to you. So then we start making phone calls. Then if we can't find them, then we go to the next step. We go on Facebook and we go. So I would say it takes us all the summer to really try to get all the information.
So Sue or Tim, thank you for your various updates, and I know that this is a transition time I know the middle school's on trimesters and high school is on semesters, but this is the time that you're looking ahead to the next year, especially for the 8th graders going in, and the high school is registering for next year too?
Yep, they are. We're working closely with the middle school around the 8th graders, too.
Did you want to add anything, or we're going to move along?
I can, really quick, because we're hoping that we'll have the banner come and visit us next week, but the middle school, there's my little plug right there. We are working with TAM to institute composting in the building. So as of December 1st, the kitchen staff were composting kitchen waste, and officially today was the kickoff, and we are composting in grades 6, 7, and 8, 3 lunches a day. The kids, we spent Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday during advisory giving little demonstrations, which you can imagine the giggling that goes along with that with middle school. But the kids did a really nice job, and I have a really good core of staff who dressed up in green shirts today and did a lot of cheerleading, and it's very successful. So we look forward to inviting folks from the community and the banner to come say. Oh, there'll be plenty of video collected, I promise. We're working on that as we speak, so.
So do they have those big tongs in case, like, you know, a cup gets in there or something?
No, we actually have compost monitors that help you figure out which container it goes into.
Do they get ice cream when they're done?
Yes, Mr. Payne's working on that too. We need some incentive program to sit there and be the compost police.
Great. So we're going to move on to committee reports. There was no ag meeting, MAU ag meeting this month, and we need to set an MAU education meeting, and the personnel, the SBSU personnel, which is going to look at job descriptions, is with our new HR person on the 28th of January, and the SBSU board met the day after MAU met last month, and we had the audit report and the budget. Tim came and did the budget with Tim and the committee, and the board voted to adopt the central office part of that, which was the day after the MAU meeting, right? So, and then I had brought up at that same time about bringing the current attorney's contract to the SBSU. They had offered the same hourly rate as they did in 2007-08 when we first signed with them, so that may be coming to the SBSU board in this month, in January. And what else did we do? I think that was it. Ken?
Next month, the 19th petition
SBSU in February? I think it is the MAU week. I think it is that week. So I was going to, under chair's report, I think I wrote it in, to do our usual Monday trip, which would be the Monday after vacation. Right, the vacation week is which week? Who has the calendar? It's the third week, right?
I think you're right. Give me 1 second. Yes, it's February 17th to the 21st.
And we would normally meet on the 19th, so I'm wondering if MAU can meet on the 24th, which would be that Monday, which is a fallback to our usual Mondays. And then the SBSU will be on the 26th. We'll make that note for the 24th at 7 o'clock. But, where are we in this agenda? Okay. The SBSU board meets this month, next Wednesday, and then there is a joint forum with the Bennington School Board, CDC, and the Bennington Select Board on February 10th. It will be reviewing Bennington's K-12 costs added with CDC and then the select board. And the idea is to get out some kind of, not the annual report, but some kind of a brochure to invite people in Bennington to come and ask questions about what would be the Bennington K-12. So anybody from MAU, please, if you're able to come, that would be great. And I think we're going to have a run through with Ken and myself and Leon and Jim Boutin maybe on the, I think it's the 5th of February. So this is really an effort to help people understand the budgets, the taxes, and all that complicated stuff we were talking about earlier that I got sidetracked on.
Sean Marie, has there been a time assigned for that date?
I think it's at 6:30, but I will send everybody an email.
Okay.
Or maybe I wrote it. 6 o'clock. I did write it down. 6 o'clock. Finance is about schools and... I did. 6 o'clock. All right. The phone is telling me my time?
Well,
So we're going to move on to
it all.
the convention to policy adoption, and it is, I can't really tell, it's like it's 8:40, right? So we're going to move right along here to adopt the policy 5003. Leanne, you want to speak to that?
Well, everything is highlighted and called for everybody to see it, so we round to the page at the top of those. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'd like to have a little discussion on that.
Sure.
The question I got is why did they add in the title part of it, where it says prevention of bullying of students by other students? Why didn't they just leave it prevention of bullying of students, which would apply to everybody?
Right, there is, and we probably watched that last meeting. In every board and every group of individuals that we run into, somebody has something they want to tweak. And this was bothering individuals because they wouldn't understand that this had something to do with students, and if we didn't really say it, should it be adults versus some other scenario along this line? So it was easier to add the to make it specific so that they'll understand that this is dealing with students and that other things out there will be addressing adults and other circumstances.
Why would it be different in the adult bullying versus a student bullying? Prevention of bullying to me is, I don't care if it says of students or adults or what. The real goal of this policy, I would assume, is to prevent bullying. And if that's the case, that's what it should say, then apply to everyone.
There's a different standard for students versus adults when it comes to things along that line. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure I cut it. I'm giving you the answers, but we had a whole meeting set up and we did these things, and so there was a lot of strong emphasis on trying to make sure we go into adults versus that. We sent things out to legal for their review, for our attorneys and things to come back to, and we keep going through the same scenario because when we go to another meeting, another board meeting, another person, an individual asks the same questions, and we want to make sure that we just let you know that this is a compromise to try to make sure that we please some, but we can't please everybody. Yes, we agree that early prevention of students is just fine, but there was a group of individuals, not Tea Party, but stood alone and was at every meeting talking about this policy and what role the adults are playing in it. And so we've spent a lot of the board's money going to legal to review these things and made sure that it's clear that this is student and adult. It's held to a different standard, and those things are being addressed in other areas.
So what I'm going to suggest, Nelson, is that in one of the tabs on the website, under SBSU policy, there is a letter from Patty Page stating why they are recommending that these be separate. And it was because of all of this dialogue and discussion that Leon's talking about. And there is another policy, there are other policies, and she explains it in what would be, we have all of the policies reviewed by the high school board of health. And so in the effort to change things, as Leon is saying, from all the constituents that may have weighed in according to policy and warning, the final say came from why they would be different, and it's explained in, I think it's like a 3-page letter. So if it's not on there, and I'll look tonight, I will ask that it be posted.
Oh, it was asked to be there.
Okay, so it should be there under last month's policy meeting. It should be one of the agenda items under there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for saying.
So that was discussion. And if you're not satisfied with that, you can certainly redirect your question. But I think when you see the letter and the other policies, it will make more sense. So there's a motion on the floor, right, Griffin?
Yes, sir.
And a second. All in favor of adopting policy 5008? It's unanimous.
No, I'm abstaining until
Abstaining, one abstention.
Good.
And then we're
I
going to
can
move on
read
to
it.
the superintendent's report on the professional day, which is January 24th.
I just wanted to mention it is a pre-K to 8 professional day next Friday, the 24th. And we've been working with Payne and Mary Ellen Green and some others at the middle school to focus our professional development on some areas that they are working on toward their school effectiveness plan. They will be working with some very good presenters, national presenters, on keys to literacy. He's a presenter that's been here before. Everyone really enjoys her input in helping to have teachers focus on the Common Core standards and how to implement those into writing. There's also someone coming for Compass Learning. It's a computer-based program that students can use at their own ability levels in many different subject areas. So we're doing that, especially for some of the teachers that didn't get it at the beginning of the year. We're also working on writing and math as called How Did You Get That? 7 Strategies to Improve Written Responses in Mathematics, which another excellent presenter and someone that is coming from the math assessment data team coming to work with the middle school team and some other teachers from other schools on how to look at student data and apply that specifically to improve student learning. So really good work. Great work. Awesome. Dave?
Donna, I looked at the front page of the banner today, and the village school of North Bennington featured some educational deal that they did well. My question is, it seems they get a disproportionate amount of I think the problem is, we're not doing a good job of putting out our good news. We had a meeting last January with the substation. I'm not looking to go to any more meetings, but we haven't had more meetings since. And I just don't think that we're harvesting all of our good news and getting it out to the media to let people know that there are some good things happening here. And I wish we could develop a process.
Good point again.
A PR person?
You know, I would say that I read all the way through that wonderful insert that was in the banner from the high school. And that, I think, was an impressive piece of work that was done.
And there's another one coming 2 weeks.
And I think that sometimes, yes, there's always more to do, but there is someone who's getting out of our school. We're not always on the front page, but we can beg for that.
So Sue's gonna hand Derek those college.
Yeah, those valid college data is really impressive.
You got it? Okay.
Front page, right?
Couldn't there be a mechanism where we just collect it, put it out, make a nice smooth transition, keep the ball rolling?
You got a PR office that basically, that's what they do. That's their goal.
We do not have a PR office at the middle school.
We don't have a
We very much, and Sue may be in the same situation, where you very much rely on pushing your staff to make the contact. In fairness, I feel the fall that the banner has done a better job of putting us on the front page. Not always above the fold where I'd like it, but I'm working on it. And I think it's been a better job. Please remember, though, they changed reporters shortly, a little bit, November, December, and so it's a matter, again, of it's a very personal relationship, you being able to call a reporter, invite them to a school, highlight programs, and so we're in the process of welcoming another reporter onto the education beat. So I just want to plug, I do dream that we had a PR person that just collects it and just keeps, because I do think other schools in the community have that. I think we're getting our information together and doing a little bit better job this year.
We do a lot. And I think even the areas that we are working to improve our news. I mean, I think that that's the big thing. All right, we are down to, I did see, I wove the chair's report. Oh, are you, hey, I'm sorry. The chair's report, I actually wove A and B into earlier parts of the meeting. And are there any others for this meeting? If not, we do not need an executive session. So we will, yeah.
Well, actually, at the very bottom of the agenda, very last thing on the agenda.
Adjourn by 9?
No. Love that.
Bring all of the SBSU
Yeah.
6th graders to the MAU
Is that
middle
still
school.
our, I thought we had,
Tim's working on the language.
Don't even mention it.
I've seen an agenda come out to us that has a different goal.
And you know what, I think you might be right. I will, this is the problem when you just sort of roll one template over. So you still on that task list?
One last thing,
Fran?
Sean Marie. I'm going to put my plug in for open teacher negotiations. Nobody is...
Oh, Fran, we thought you were quiet on
No, well, I just want to make sure that we go after that, and I haven't heard much, and I know the teachers don't have a team yet, so hopefully they'll get one together and we will go to open.
Soon.
Okay.
Did you already have, I think there's gonna
We
be-
had one team meeting, just us.
There's a meeting tomorrow.
Give these out.
Oh, there is, it is tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Okay, great.
didn't get that.
So we'll see everybody on Monday, the 20th, if you're available.
What time?
Finance.
What time?
And then
At Central.
on the 27th, Monday, the 27th,
Is that the day we decided we were going to do it?
the
For
warning.
for the warning? Okay.
So that's this Monday, the 20th, the next Monday, the 27th, and then we're going to meet in February on the
Okay.
24th.
Right. And is that going to be, are there going to be other districts meeting on that 27th? Ken, are you meeting again or not? You're going to wait till the last minute, okay.
You said you could go to February.
Okay, I thought it was the 29th, I could be wrong.
Thank you, everybody.
So moved. Second, third.